In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at titles and text. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag in some titles and edit them, taking a look at the different fonts and colors and sizes that you can do. The first one we'll do is going to be a title. And so we're going to drag this one in here. Some of them are solid, and when you drag them in, they will actually ask if you want to make it transparent, and you can say yes. But at times, depending on what the title is, it can look pretty bad. So that's that one. I don't like the look of it. Looks pretty shoddy. So I am going to use one that has some transparency. And you can tell it has transparency because of the black. So I'm going to drag this one in. And the default is fairly short. It's about maybe about 4 seconds long. And I was playing around with it so it had some other features that I put in there. But basically, I have a graphic, and then most of the time it'll just say movie title. So we'll just kind of go back to where it was from the beginning. So this is my movie title box, and it comes in 2 parts: the graphic, which you can move around if you so choose, and it comes with the text. And you have to click exactly on the text, and then the text box will be highlighted. So this graphic, I want to leave where it was, and it's basically aligned perfectly to the center of my window. So these 2 buttons here allow me to put things in the exact center of my window here. So I'm going to click on this one. It's called horizontal center. So it will put it perfectly in the center. And then vertical center, see it jumped up just a little bit. I can place objects perfectly in this window. If I were to click on the movie title, it's a little hard to see, but there is a white box around it, and I went to align, and align, it would perfectly place it in the center of my document there. But I want it over top of this window, so we'll put it there. And we're going to change, obviously, the text and the look of it. So we'll call this movie Lost in the... Now it's going to go off, and I actually don't want it to get any smaller. So I'm going to hit enter. We'll do a little bit of a space and garden. So once I've done that, I can place it where I want to, and it should fit in there nicely. So we'll just go through and systematically look at what you can do with the text. Now the first thing we'll take a look at is style. So these different tabs across the top. So if I click on style and I click on, say, this one, oh, it already was that one, the next one, it'll change the font. It's automatically formatted for color and size. And there's a bunch of different ones that you can choose from, depending on what it is that you want. If you hold your mouse over top of that scroll bar, sometimes it'll just automatically scroll through it. So if there's not one that you like, well, it stands out a bit better, you can do some of your own editing. So we'll just go through this. So the first one is you can pick your font. So there's a huge list here, and you go down to the arrow at the bottom and click on that, and it will scroll through all the different ones. So whichever one you end up choosing, it's going to adjust the size and the shape of it as well. You can adjust the size of the font just by clicking and dragging over top of the number here. You can see that hand gives you a little double arrow, and I drag left to go down in size, and I drag up to go up in size. I can choose bold and italics and underline. Some of the fonts won't let me italicize, but that's okay. And I can align it in the left, center, and right as well. You also have the ability to change from bold, italic, and regular here, so it will adjust that for you. So you can just play around with that. Now, once you're set, you can go into the color and change things here. And there's a lot of different things you can do with the color. So I'm going to click on, and one thing I should say, you notice I'm clicked on it with my black arrow. All I have to do is click on the letters, it will select it, and then any of these things can be applied to the text. I could also click and highlight, say, just one word and just change that as well. So if I wanted to say emphasize the word lost, I can make lost bigger than the others and say let's do garden up to 70 as well. So I can play around with those as well. You don't have to just click on it with the black arrow. And if you accidentally move that like I just did, you can realign it using the align buttons. So just make sure the text box is selected and then you can move it up. So now the last thing we'll take a look at, and it's fairly detailed, and I'll just show you a couple things, a couple different settings that you can use. So I'm going to go here to color, and this window comes up, and you can see there's already some settings there, but the first thing we'll do is we'll turn off the drop shadow, and what that does is it basically puts a shadow in behind, and most often it's black. Okay, and I can change the angle of it. You can see it changes the font as well, and I can change the distance away that the shadow is, and I can change the softness of it as well. So I can turn that off or on. I'm going to turn it off for now. Then what I can do is I can change the fill color and the stroke color. So the fill color is this color right here. So I'll click on fill, and if I go here to blue, it'll change the fill color to blue. If I click on the stroke color, and I can choose any color in here. It's a little hard to see, but you can see the stroke color is going to change as well. So there it stands out a little bit more. So I have a dark blue and a light green stroke and fill. So outline of the text and fill in of the text. Now I've got a bunch of different settings here in this list. So right now I had it on bevel. If I just wanted to change a solid color, I can do that. You can see it changes the fill color and the stroke color. I can choose a gradient, so I'm going to choose fill, and I'm going to go down here and choose linear gradient, and you can see there's two colors. I can add in more, I think. Oh, maybe I can't. No, it's just two. So I can slide these up and down and change the look of it, and I can also of course change the color. So if I wanted to go to a nice bright red and say I wanted a nice bright blue, I can put a gradient on those. I've got also a 4-color gradient that I can choose from, so I can change these colors here and come up with something really quite colorful. So there's all these different settings here. Radial gradient is basically circular, so it kind of starts out in the middle and goes out in a circular form. On text, a little hard to notice, but it's there. So whichever one you want, if you want to just do a linear gradient, you can do that. Blend the two together, you can do the 4-color gradient. Whatever it is you want, you can do that. So the fill color is the gradient, and the outline color is just that stroke that you see. We'll throw the drop shadow back on so it looks like it stands out a little bit more. So you can do some really, really colorful fonts there. Okay, once it's done, of course, render it. Edit it, I can double click on it, go back and edit it, and you'll get this box up here again. If I want to add in another text box in, I can click, and this is a vertical one, so it will type vertically. And so it'll go one letter above the other. I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to delete that. Click on the letter, and I'm just going to do vertical because I want to type in and then I think I will change the color there as well. So let's go to the linear gradient. It's all white, so whatever it starts with. And sure, why not? Click OK. Now generally I would try and match up the colors, so maybe yellow would be good. Let's find more of an orangey yellow. And then the second color, maybe, no. Yeah, that's good enough. Anyways, I would take a little bit more time to match up the colors maybe to this yellow and this pink or something like that. Now the last thing we'll add in is credits. So I'm going to drag them in, and again I'll use the same theme. So I'm going to drag in the credits here. I won't do a lot of editing to them, but you have the same abilities there. I'm going to put my mouse over there. So that's what it's going to look like. And I'm just going to change the text. So I can click on this. Now you want some distance here. So I'm going to delete all this text here and get rid of it. And just type in a couple things. And I can just hit enter and add some more space in. Okay, and again, I can use my align tools here if I want to. With the credits, generally I delete everything and then add stuff in. If you want to see what you typed, you have to move it up so you can see it, and then you can move it down again. And if you can't find center, just go here to align and horizontal center. If you just want to change some of the text, of course, oops, you can do that. So if I just want to change those, I can do that. Now, I render it. This is what so it goes pretty quick. So what I can do is simply make it longer. I have a couple options. I can put more space in between my text. So I can click here and I can push these down. And that will lengthen the time between it, but it'll still go fairly fast. So if I want to slow it down, I basically have to give it more time. And if I want my music to keep playing, I can simply drag the music that I cut to match as well, because I did cut part of the song off. So then we'll re-render that. Shouldn't take too long because I only changed the length. obviously much easier to read. So that's how you put in a title and credits, and that's how you would do your editing. Take some time to kind of play around with these. If you've never played with gradients, basically it's applying more than one color to whatever it is. It can be a shape or text. You can try out some of these as well. Bevel is kind of a 3D look to it. Ghost gives it some transparency to different parts. And then whatever it is you want to work on, there's a fill, and then there's a stroke. And sometimes some fonts have more than one stroke, so you can have 3 colors kind of surrounding your fill color of the text. And then just simply drag this around and choose the color that you want, and it will apply it. So if it's a 4-color gradient, you just click on these corners here. Okay, the drop shadow, we'll put it there. It's just an on-off switch, and then you can change the settings there. So that's how you would add in text and titles.